Ladies and gentlemen, judging people is not simple. The moment you see the bad things coming from the people, you just because one bad things, you will judge them until the end of the day. But we need more evidence on how you prove that is the justice and so on and so forth. Therefore, artificial intelligence will prove to you why then justice and fair will happen under our side, Mr. and Madam Speaker. Going to my first, why it's benefit. First, it will help the law enforcement to begin with, because the AI will have unlimited capacity, meaning that there is collect, research the data, it's proof, the evidence correctly. For example, because because there's many research evidence and so on. Therefore, the decision will more trustable, and because there is so many observation and so on, it leads to the first, make easy to conclude the problem. Second, the conclude the decision are more easy, and lastly, the conclude how the policy will cover the mistake of the society itself, Mr. Speaker. Second, comparatively, if there is traditional court that still exists, the possibility of human error will hide. First, subjective, because people will judge based on their interest. The decision can be influenced. The decision can be changeable based on internal and external factor. Like, for example, on how politicians can bribe the judges, for example, because this kind of judges want to gain capital, for example, or these judges want to have high decision and so on and so forth. Therefore, abusive power, it will highly happen under their side. Even if there's a professional, for example, educate people, progressive, that coming from a good university and so on, but we say it's still difficult to identify to begin with, because this kind of people are less experienced or less of engaged with the people, because in the injustice, the domination of white people, for example, are still exist. Therefore, this kind of people not getting this kind of like African are not getting exposure. This with white people not feel the suffering of the people. Therefore, the decision are subjective based point of view of this kind of the people. Secondly, opposition might say that there is technology error, for example, but this is not exclusive anyway. Why? Because we can improve the quality of machine fastly. Because we can develop the software, for example, we can at the end it will maximize the performance of machine itself. Comparatively, on how human judgment exists, it will create human error. That first, we cannot replace the human error when it comes to the habit. For example, because they will always have their internal factor, for example, because the demand of life, for example, because they want to get power and so on. Therefore, they will misuse the power and do corruption and so on. And so far, then it shows to you this is really harmful. That we see in status quo many liars are biased, and can be trusted anyway. It will, and the law will decrease day by day. It will reduce the value of law, that you should provide justice towards all the society, cover the justice to all the society at the end of the day. In the worst scenario in the future, when traditional court are exist, that because so many judges misuse their power, when there is a problem in society underground, the moment people see the problem and so on, this kind of people doesn't want to go to the court, for example, because already judged, or because already judged, the decision will always be biased anyway. Therefore, the vigilantism there exists under our status quo, that is really harmful to begin with. Therefore, after seeing benefit artificial intelligence, it shows you the maximum outcomes coming from the government. Therefore, better to utilize AI in court, because two conclusion: no bias, because objective. Second, cannot be influenced in another cannot be influenced. Second, it easy to improve. Or to easy to improve technological error. That is lead to fair judgment with artificial intelligence. Lastly, on how at the end it will create change, it will create a new policy. For example, notice our education in Indonesia, for example, are centralized in Java. Then the rural area left behind, because AI can identify correctly which vulnerable actor, which sector are more vulnerable. Therefore, centralize the Java, because most of politicians based on that. Therefore, this kind of politician will more fulfill the voter base in Central Java. The moment this kind of AI will help the government to identify the problem and the status quo. Therefore, changing policy and so on will be less likely to happen under our side. Therefore, we are very proud to propose. Thank you.